Tactical RPGs are all about positioning, planning, and making the right move before the enemy does. Today we're looking at 10 titles that push players to consider every action, every turn, and every risk. Let's dive in.
5 years from today.
Like a class reunion?
You will.
We have something a bit more modern and narrative-heavy to boot in Fire Emblem Three Houses. There's a reason this game launched the Switch's strategy lineup into the stratosphere. Life at Garreg Mach Monastery oscillates between the quiet routine of a professor and the lethality of the battlefield. Those months in the monastery are not downtime. Everything you do there feeds directly into what happens on the grid. Weapon proficiencies, magic aptitude, movement capabilities, all of it shaped by a strict calendar that doesn't offer many second chances. And you notice it fairly quickly once the calendar starts filling up. And the characters? I'd say most of them are genuinely endearing, the kind you find yourself actually rooting for when things get difficult. On the battlefield, battalions arrive with stat bonuses and gambits that rattle enemies and strip their ability to counterattack. And of course, Divine Pulse covers the moments where even careful preparation breaks down, rewinding individual turns rather than absorbing a catastrophic mistake. The campaign is won or lost long before the first battle map loads.
Project is unmatched.
Now, you can't talk about tactical grids without bringing up the granddaddy of the modern era, XCOM 2. Earth has fallen to an alien occupation, and the remnants of the XCOM project now operate as a global resistance movement. The opening moments of most missions belong entirely to the squad. Concealment keeps them hidden long enough to set the ambush before a single shot is fired. Lose that window, and the engagement becomes considerably uglier. The two-action system keeps individual turns readable, but there are a lot of other mechanics that get added in as you go, and thus, without paying attention, the squad is going to get destroyed. Grenades and heavy weapons often prove more critical for destroying cover than dealing damage, exposing enemies for the flanking shot that follows. Every raid, every story objective, every decision about where to land next is a direct argument against the Avatar Project timer. You can run 3 perfect missions, and the Avatar counter will move anyway.
Rivellon.
Divinity Original Sin 2 seems the natural next step. Larian hit something special here, and the surface system alone puts most tactical RPGs to shame. Wielding source magic in a world that fears it means every battle becomes a lesson in environmental chemistry. Rain creates puddles, puddles conduct electricity, electricity stuns everything standing in the water, oil burns, poison clouds detonate. I can't think of many games that hand you this much tactical freedom and make it feel this natural. Armor splits into physical and magic barriers that operate independently, meaning status effects cannot land until the relevant armor is gone, forcing damage types to be coordinated rather than just pointed at the nearest enemy. High ground carries a significant damage bonus, making verticality as relevant as whatever is already burning on the ground below. Set something on fire in the wrong place, and spend the next 3 turns explaining that decision to the rest of the party.
Next is something a bit more lighthearted and completely over the top. We have Disgaea 5, Alliance of Vengeance. Killia travels across different netherworlds to recruit overlords for a rebellion against a galactic conqueror. Disgaea will look familiar at first glance, and then immediately start doing things you genuinely did not see coming. Geo-panels define the puzzle of every map, colored tiles applying effects from damage amplification to full invincibility, with chain reactions triggered by destroying or relocating the geo-symbols that generate them. Lifting and throwing shapes the rest. Allies stack into towers to reach elevated platforms. Enemies get hurled into clusters to control their positioning. It's just pure Nippon Ichi goodness. The revenge system builds a gauge from absorbed damage until characters can execute their most powerful abilities without consuming resources, which makes taking punishment a viable tactical decision rather than just something to avoid. Item level ceilings are suggestions the developers left in as a courtesy.
The three children of our patriarch.
From the netherworlds back to a post-apocalyptic Earth, we land on Wasteland 3. The Desert Rangers travel to the frozen wastes of Colorado to answer a distress call from a local ruler known as the Patriarch. I will say immediately, the setup and world building for Colorado are excellent. Every faction encountered has resources the squad needs and reasons not to share them, so almost every interaction carries weight that compounds over the campaign. Every engagement in this game has consequence. One wrong move and the squad pays for it in full. Cover is mandatory. Characters caught in the open rarely survive a full exchange of fire. The Kodiak travels alongside as both heavy cover and a mobile turret when the positioning allows it, which is such a cool concept executed perfectly. Action points can be banked between turns for more committed offensive plays, and precision strikes target specific body parts to disable weapons or collapse armor. Meanwhile, the Ranger base handles the persistent layer of specialist recruitment and upgrade research that keeps the squad viable through a genuinely brutal winter. The factions in Colorado had their own agenda before the Rangers ever landed.
Never left home.
A caravan of humans and giants pushes through a frozen wilderness against an ancient threat, while you lead them forward, rationing supplies and maintaining morale on a journey where every loss takes a heavy toll. When your warriors finally clash with the stone-armored dredge, these encounters rely on a system built entirely around managing armor and strength. Armor reduces incoming damage, while strength determines both a unit's health and the power of their attacks. It creates a constant dilemma of whether to break enemy armor first or strike their strength directly to reduce their immediate damage. Positioning is equally pivotal, since larger units occupy multiple tiles to block movement and reshape how both sides maneuver. Combine this with permadeath, meaning that if a character falls in battle or during caravan events, they are gone for good, and every mistake forces you to adapt your roster and strategy as the march continues. Banner Saga earns it, and by the time someone you relied on is gone, you feel it properly. Next up, we shift to the grim, dark future with Warhammer 40k Daemon Hunters. Now, I'm normally a nitpicker for RNG and tactics games. I'm just resigned to the fact that majority of the time, missing a 99% shot is gonna suck. But Daemon Hunters shows how good this aspect of a game can be when you strip that away. Purging the bloom requires the Grey Knights to abandon the luck-based mechanics the genre is built on. Line of sight guarantees the shot connects, full stop. The tactical weight shifts entirely onto cover and positioning rather than probability, and it just works. Aggression is built into the stun system. Repeated melee strikes build toward executions that grant the entire squad an additional action point capable of turning a losing engagement in a single turn. And it nails that Space Marine fantasy in a way few games in this setting have managed. Psychic abilities burn willpower efficiently until the warp surge meter disagrees, at which point environmental hazards and enemy reinforcements arrive uninvited. Between missions, your ship, the Baleful Edict, needs repairs, stratagems need researching, and the bloom keeps mutating. Knowing when the bolters are enough is most of the battle. Wartales is a gritty, medieval mercenary sim from Shiro Games, and honestly, it deserves every bit of praise it gets. Survival in the aftermath of the Great Plague means managing a mercenary company where every meal and every copper coin counts. Combat drops everything onto a tactical grid, where the engagement system locks units into one-on-one melee. A mercenary engaged in a fight cannot move without eating a free hit, so positioning is decided before blades are ever drawn. It's an incredibly gratifying system. Backstabs get set up by controlling turn order within a phase. Protecting archers means thinking 2 moves ahead, and every skirmish feeds back into camp management. Your professions, like blacksmithing and cooking, determine what gear and rations the company even has access to. Bounties, caravan raids, fatigue levels, regional standing, and if you miss a wage cycle, you'll learn very quickly how a mercenary company turns into 8 angry men with weapons and nowhere to sleep.
As long as I keep walking, there will always...
The continent of Norzelia is divided by the control of salt and iron. Serenoa Wolffort navigates that division through 3 values: utility, morality, liberty, that shift with every decision and determine who joins the cause and who opposes it. Major plot points trigger the scales of conviction, where companions vote based on the relationship groundwork laid during exploration. Swaying those votes means doing the work before the moment arrives, and the pacing of this political intrigue is masterful. On the battlefield, it's a turn-based system reminiscent of the tactics games of the 90s. Elevated positioning increases both damage and range, making height the first thing worth reading on any new map. Units placed on opposite sides of an enemy draw automatic follow-up strikes from the second attacker. Combine this with environmental mechanics: fire melts ice into water, lightning electrifies the resulting puddles, and a defensive cluster suddenly becomes a trap the enemy cannot move out of in time. Next is an indie title from Lightbulb Crew called Othercide. A monochrome world serves as the backdrop for a war against the suffering, and the monochrome commitment never wavers. The dynamic timeline makes every action point decision carry real consequence. Spending more than half your AP pushes a daughter into a burst state that shoves her turn significantly further back, which can unravel a controlled fight if the timing is misjudged. And I'll warn you, healing is the harshest mechanic in the game. Daughters do not recover health between missions, and restoring one requires sacrificing another of equal or greater level, transferring her traits to the survivor. And the sacrifice mechanic, I'll be honest, that one sits with you. Reactions and delayed stances turn the grid into a web of conditional responses, with daughters set to strike automatically when an enemy moves or takes damage. The daughters who survive to the end of the campaign are built almost entirely from the ones who didn't. Those were 10 tactical RPGs worth checking out. Now I'm curious, what title would you add to this list? Let us know down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like and consider subscribing for more. We really appreciate you watching. Take care.